Speaking of the holidays and all the fun stuff that comes with it, how do you guys feel about going through some survival guide tips?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And while you're getting that fired up, I think it's important to look at, too, not just what happens with you and your family and your traditions, but just in society writ large. I mean, the discomfort of walking by a, department store with a Salvation Army Santa and sort of that social pressure and that expectation that this is something we can all come together on. This is something we can all agree on, except that... Yeah. Those of us here really don't agree with that and don't want
with
that.
With the philosophy of the
Salvation Army, of Christmas as a universal expectation of, any of that.
Right. And I think it's important here to also distinguish the idea of Christmas, the religious occasion, versus Christmas, the international holiday, because it really has become its own completely separate thing, no matter how often we are told otherwise. I stand by Starbucks and their war on
remembering
Christmas.
The reason for the season and the war on Christmas and all these talking points. I think that brings up an interesting question. I don't want to be, hiding over at Walden to try and avoid contributing to the evils of religion or whatever. But I also don't necessarily know that I want to participate or buy in to these sorts of things. Am I off base on that? Is there anything morally wrong about being a skeptic who is jamming the 24/7 Christmas station on your way to work?
Well, you just made a Thoreau reference on a holiday show, so I think that in that you are wrong. But
okay, my bad.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with, liking...
tacitly endorsing a secular Christmas?
Yeah, because at this point, really, let's be honest, you can have a secular Christmas, and it can be secular as fuck. It does not have to have any religious connotation whatsoever, minus maybe whatever Christmas music you want to listen to. And even then, there's plenty of Christmas music out there that has nothing to do with baby Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So the Christians can steal it from the pagans, and then we can kind of rip off the Christians?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I'm
sure. Good for it.
Make it your own. Have fun. Give presents or don't. And enjoy whatever you call family. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So in these wonderful family times, it is important to remember you don't want to burn the turkey and the house down. You can burn one or the other, but probably not both. Or you could do both, one first, then the other one follows. But, anyway.
I'm already unsure about this guide that you're creating here.
But generally speaking, let's remember to try and keep some sense of sanity during the holidays. Mm-hmm. It can be difficult, and we know that. Take a breath. Remember why you're there. So theoretically, ideally, you're there to spend time with people who you have some amount of connection or affection for, that you don't get to see all the time. Or maybe you do and you're sick and tired of them.
I don't want to force the metaphor, but as you're talking about choosing your family or choosing your holiday celebration, it does make me think about how important it is to enthusiastically consent to the situation. If you are being really pressured and strong-armed and your parents are guilt-tripping you or these different things are going on, it is going to completely be a different experience than if you are really excited to see Uncle Tommy, who's never in town, but he's coming to Christmas this year, and, that opportunity.
Right. And so, help put a silver lining on that. Think of the people who, even if the vast majority of the people there, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to go deal with them. Try to remember, the few people that you are actually excited to see, and, just, for lack of a better term, cherish the time that you get to spend together, and then, hopefully that'll make next year a little less stressful.
And by that same token, don't twist anybody else's arm or guilt trip anybody
Right.
else into being
Right.
there. You know, whether you're a parent or a child or both.
Yeah. And of course, stay mindful of your emotions, because they can run high.
Yes.
And when you feel yourself getting a little tense, maybe take a breather. It's okay. You know, hey, so I just remembered that I need to go get X from the store. Or, hey, I just need to take a call. Or, you know, whatever. If you need to step away, step away. Don't take your family members' opinions and reactions too personally, if at all possible, because those are their opinions, and honestly, they can shove it if you disagree, just at a different time.
I mean, there's that whole thing that you grow up with, you know, having to fit into your family. And so I guess that sort of carries over, you know, even when you're a grown up, just like suddenly these people's opinions are important because they just are. Mm-hmm. And there's not even like a really reason for them that Uncle Bob's opinion should be more important than Bob Malugaluga on the street. But
he's just louder and he's in your face.
Yes. But for some reason, it's just ingrained in us from childhood that these things are important to us, and it's hard not to get emotional. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. So let's see here. Also, you don't have to answer every question. We know, especially from those family members who you don't see all the time, and, you know, it's your uncle who just came into town, or, you know, what, even your grandma. So what are you doing now? And then that leads into so many questions.
Having so many flashbacks from college break.
Yeah. I mean, I know I had, when I first started volunteering here at the ACA, I actually had an interaction with my grandmother on the phone where I gave her every opportunity not to, like, engage with the conversation. And she just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally, like, okay, I am volunteering at an atheist community, and yeah. And that was finally, she was like...
She's probably picturing you, like, just slaughtering a bunch of goats and dancing naked and, you know, atheist stuff.
Yeah, baby toes. And
not
she's
on
just
Wednesdays.
like, oh, okay. Subjects changed. So, you know, you don't have to answer every question. Just remember that you can turn it back around on them and ask them questions. In addition, don't drink too much. When you know that you are going into what could become a dicey situation. Of course, that can affect your ability to maintain what you call control. Yes, composure. Yes.
Basic human decency, civility.
That.
Yeah.
Non-violence.
Do remember that there is food galore around the holidays, so pace yourself. I
never follow them.
Neither do I. And I think the big stressor around the holidays, for a lot of people, especially those with kids, is money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's important for everyone to remember that how should I put this? Not everyone has the same means and pockets. And it's okay not to get every single coworker and every single, you know, extended family member some gift from, you know, Five Below or Dollar General because you have to get everybody something.
Yeah, I mean, like diving into the strip malls when there are giant crowds and everything, like the day before Christmas because you forgot that you had drawn you know, your cousin Sarah in the
pink
white
elephant,
elephant.
whatever.
Yeah. No, it can be super stressful.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll say right now, nobody's going to be squeezing any gifts out of me this year. But that's a whole nother story. But
if you would like to make $69 donations in the name of any of your relatives, the ACA would gladly accept it.
Yes.
Check out our Patreon.
And by the way, thank you to everyone who is donating in the chat. Thank you so much. It goes to a good cause. It goes to keeping the lights on. It goes to the camera and the set, and occasionally feeding the homeless, occasionally clothing, and providing. No, I shouldn't say occasionally. Regularly on a regular basis. So we do things with those donations. Let's see here. Yeah, so money. I'm not going to be giving anybody any gifts this year, and I don't feel guilty about it because I'm not picking and choosing. It's just nobody's getting anything. A couple years ago, I had to make the decision because I actually had, enough money to get some nieces and nephews stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like, where does that line end?
Right. Once you open up that can of worms, it can get tricky.
Yeah. And so I put a budget cap on each kid, got them all the same type of things, which actually, it might sound like would be a bad idea, but they loved it because they all got to have similar things that, like, the only difference. Yeah, the only difference was, like, some of them were different colors or, variety, what do you call it, like, style of whatever, like pop guns or whatever. So putting, basically putting a bounty on each kid. And
thus the guns.
Yes. And then, saying one item, no more than X number of dollars for each immediate, like, brother, sister-in-law. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. You don't have to get your coworker stuff. I mean, come on. You don't have to get anybody anything. Anyway.